Hey there, mudroomers! It's Carmen here with Mako, and today we're going to be going over a couple different performance characteristics for our glaze profile for one of our new 2021 stoneware glazes. We have Landslide here today. So to begin, just like I have in the other videos, I want to go over some information on the label, just in case you didn't catch those other videos, just so that you have an understanding as to how to use this label as a resource, because it really does have a lot of information on it. We've redesigned these labels, so new glazes moving forward will have that, and then we're doing a rolling change with all of our other stoneware glazes. So hopefully that bleeds out into the market here soon. But otherwise, if you have an older label, definitely be sure to check out our website. All of this information is available for each glaze on our website so that you can have the most up-to-date information. We know that not everything on our older labels had the dinnerware safe recommendation. So if you're questioning as to whether any glaze can be used for dinnerware, be sure to use our website if you don't have one of these newer labels on your pint. So to start, we have our cone recommendation. So as most things that we showcase in all of our literature are going to be fired on a white clay body to cone 6 unless otherwise stated. We do recommend a firing range of cone 5 to 10 for our stoneware glazes, so expect some variation in performance. With that, we're going to go over actually cone 5 and 10 results here today, but we do have cone 10 results available on our website as well as on the label over here in the description. So on this side here, this is going to be where we have all of our certifications. So the ACMI AP certification, that is in regards to the wet glaze. So we have AP and CL. CL certifications are going to be if it has a soluble copper warning. So that is in regards to children in elementary school. They cannot handle the wet glaze, but otherwise the AP or CL certification is fine for pretty much anyone to handle here. And then here's where we're going to have our dinnerware safe recommendation. All of Mako's stoneware glazes are actually tested for food safety, and then we do have a dinnerware safe recommendation. So food safety is in regards to cadmium and lead leaching from the fired and glazed surface. And all of our stoneware glazes do pass that test, and dinnerware safe recommendation is in regards to the surface texture and durability. So this is not recommended for dinnerware because of the surface durability. Highly acidic foods will degrade the surface, so keep this application to decorative pieces or on something that will not directly come into contact with food. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Again, this was noted on our website as well if it's not on the label that you have currently. And then here's where we have our lot number. This you'll need if you do any technical reporting. We'll ask you for this immediately so that we can do tests on that particular lot number to make sure everything was okay or see if anything else was reported. And then here is all the info. So we have our cone 6 results, cone 10 reduction results, basic application instructions, suggestions, and tips. So all 4 of this grouping of glazes from this stoneware glaze release, we have Rainforest, Azurite, Himalayan Salt, and Landslide. All of them add a lot of mobility to combinations. So we have a little note here just to keep that in mind. We haven't had a lot of mobility with these just applying 3 coats, but it's definitely possible depending on how heavy your hand is, so just be aware of that. Firing our matte glazes to cone 6 to produce a satin matte finish. If you do cone 5, it will be a little bit drier of a finish, so just depends on your preference. Cone 5 with a hold could produce a smooth satin finish as well because it is going to have more heat work, so just, always do some testing. And then here we do note that 185 through 188, so these 4 glazes from this release all have similar performance characteristics because they are very similar in formulation. So if you understand and enjoy how one works but maybe want a different color, the other ones are going to perform really similar, so you don't have as much of a learning curve there, which is really nice. And those are the kind of particular suggestions and tips. Otherwise, we just have our basic ones that are on all of our labels on here. And then here's your safety information. And this is going to tell you why we denote this not dinnerware safe. So this is in regards to surface durability. So that's just a little overview of the label. Sorry if I'm getting really redundant here with that. I just want to make sure everyone gets to see it if they don't watch all of these videos, because we are really excited about this new label and it is very informative and helpful. So we want you to make sure you utilize that as a resource, especially in conjunction with our website. So going over some performance characteristics here. Here we have our cone 6 firing. We have 1, 2, and 3 coats. This glaze is going to produce a lot warmer of a color with 3 coats, as well as some variation with like different striations. So 1 coat and any of the breaking is going to show up as kind of this lighter greenish brown, and then it's going to get warmer as you build the brown with the 3 coats. So on this side here we have the 3 coats. You can kind of see this variation that happens with these striations. I think it's really, really pretty. I love that. Kind of iron pulling through the glaze. I really, really like that. And then we're going to pool down here with a bit of a gloss. So if this was applied a bit heavier, then we would get some pooling in here. So, which is kind of funny. I'm usually typically pretty heavy-handed, but it does seem like I was a bit reserved with these tiles. So just to kind of show you that everyone can have some variation in their application. So if you have any range of these with results, you can kind of understand as to why something maybe doesn't look exactly like this tile. Because again, like I said, these glazes do produce a lot of variation here. Here's where you get some of that gloss buildup. So I would kind of expect that to be in these recesses here, just to kind of show the contrast between those. But this is easy to get that to build up because this is fired flat. And this is vertical, so you're going to get a lot more buildup on the bottom of the tiles. So that's always something to keep in mind. And then here we have our cone 5 performance. Cone 5 is, on any of these 4 glazes, is honestly not that different than cone 6. The only difference is the finish is a little bit drier, this is a little bit smoother. But like I said previously, you can definitely have a little bit more heat work at cone 5 if you had a hold or something. So if you want a smoother finish at cone 5 and have a hold, then you can go ahead and do that, and you don't have to go up to cone 6. So these are pretty similar. This one was a little heavier handed, so we do have a little bit of that darker brown buildup around the bottom and in the texture here. So that is those 2 results. So then I kind of want to go over what we have our flux results here. So I really just love these with flux. It like makes the satin matte even softer than it is normally, which already is super soft. I just really love that beautiful, really smooth finish. And to have that with such nice color saturation is just so nice. So here we have our flux applied underneath 188. Like I mentioned about the label, this glaze does add a lot of mobility to combinations, so layering it with flux, I knew it was going to add a lot of mobility, so I made sure to pretty dramatically recede my coats here. So I did 1 coat all the way to the bottom, 1 coat about like halfway down, and then another coat about 1/3 of the way down, because I knew this was going to move a lot. So on this side, I applied the flux first. We have light flux on this side and dark flux on this side. I applied the flux 2 coats to a band, you know, about 1 inch here. And then I applied the landslide on top of it. So again, receding the coats. Really love this dark flux kind of went over here with the texture. I really love where these intersect here. We get this beautiful blue where I'm imagining it's from the dark flux and light flux kind of mixing, because the dark flux will bring out some blue sometimes, and sometimes it brings out brown. And then we have this lovely contrast of the fired finish here with the gloss and the matte, just so nice. And even with receding the coats, we did have quite a bit of mobility. So if you do something like this, maybe just do it really close to the top of the wear, make sure you have a lip on the bottom, to catch any mobility or anything like that, or just leave a nice cushion for movement in between where you're applying the flux and down to the bottom. Keeping in mind the form as well. So this straight form is going to produce a lot more mobility than something that's like maybe angled outwards or has texture or something like that. And then here we have flux over Landslide. So I reseeded the coats here, and actually this is like a perfect reseeding application. It kind of all gathered at the bottom here. We didn't have any sort of blank space and not too much overflow. So I did reseed the coats, and then I applied 2 coats of flux over top of the Landslide here. And this is kind of nice, the contrast. I love how this builds up this rich chocolate brown, and then this really brightens the brown here. So it's really nice, nice colors here. And this variation happens because the texture as well as the layering. So this could turn out really smooth like this if you have it on a smooth surface. So definitely keep that in mind, because this is going to affect the way that the results look. And then we have our cone 10 performance. So here we have a cone 10 reduction. I love this, really brightens up this color, bringing it into kind of like more orangish brown space, and then it breaks this beautiful darker brown. And I do have another cone 10 reduction test here just to kind of showcase some variation that can happen. Everyone's cone 10 will be a little bit different, so we've actually fired these in a couple different kilns and had different results. So cone 10 reduction is a little bit more variable than any of the other firings, which is kind of funny because they are all also very variable. So the cone 10 is a little bit, so just do your tests and then know what it looks like in your firing environment, and you can produce consistent results once you do that, but different kilns are going to produce different results. So that's just something to keep in mind. So here, I really like this one with kind of this gray, and then these striations are have a lot of contrast. This is a little bit more homogeneous in color. So I love this warmth, this golden, we got gray, a little bit of everything going on there. So that's really nice. And 1, 2, and 3 coats on that side. So that's just a couple of the cone 10 reduction results that we have. And then here we have cone 10 with flux. So on the back here, I did flux over Landslide, kind of like I had done here. But we do produce a little bit more variation in that reduction environment, as well as a little bit more mobility, which is to be expected. And on this one, I did reseed the coats as well, just to anticipate this movement, but I still did end up with quite a bit. And then next here we have the different clay bodies. So just like with rainforest, azurite, and Himalayan salt, we found that a slow cool produced the most success in terms of any surface texture or anything like that. So here we have the light speckled clay. It's kind of this beautiful kind of cheetah print with that nice rich orange brown here. So cone 6 with the slow cool, nice smooth finish, beautiful specks coming through. I really like this. I love this white clay with the speckles because that white clay really brings out the brightness in these glazes. As you can see, there's not as much color in the darker clays. So having this bright clay really bring out the colors in these glazes is super nice. And here we have it on a brown speckled clay body. Just like with the previous 3, we did produce a lot of pinholing here. This one's a bit smoother. We tested it with a hold as well as with a slow cool, and we still had some pinholing happen. So we're continuing to conduct tests to hopefully find a way for this to work for you brown speckled clay people. So just know that we're thinking of you, and we're trying to figure this out. But if anybody gets a sample pack and finds a really awesome method that works for this, definitely let us know. We're always open to different techniques to produce success in the kiln. And then here we have it on a dark brown clay. Again, fired to cone 6 with a slow cool. It really eliminates any of those pinholes. There's not a lot of color contrast. These glazes just tend to kind of add a a finish to the brown clay, but the pigment seems to kind of get lost in the sauce. Still a lovely finish. So now I will go over a quick little hit with some combinations here. So here is our big combo sample. Just like the other three glazes, again, like I said, they all perform really similar. So you're gonna have these nice striations and variation that kind of happens when you're using this glaze in combination. This is layered with purple mint, so it's Landslide over purple mint. It's fired to cone 6 on a white stoneware body. Oh wait, no, this is fired to cone 10. Sorry guys. This is actually a cone 10 sample. All the other samples I've showcased were cone 6. I was like looking at it and I'm like, this clay is kind of blue. So yeah, this is actually a cone 10 sample, which is kind of cool. It didn't produce way too much mobility. Todd glazed this, so he planned this really well. It's kind of perfect. It's not even touching the shelf or anything. So even at cone 10, these glazes are going to produce this kind of variation. It's really characteristic of them. So this is over purple mint at cone 10 reduction. I love how this gets really, really nice and dark in combination with the purple mint. All right, and then we'll just kind of go through these guys just to give you an idea as to color performance. Like I've said previously, all of these are fired flat, so this kind of gives us an idea as to how the glaze will interact with these other glazes in combination, as in what kind of color it will produce. But this kind of mobility is something that will shift the color and create more variation in the glaze. So kind of, you know, take it with a grain of salt there. So let's say Landslide over Norris Blue here. So this variation here, this kind of showcases to me that it will look like this when I put it on a vertical surface. I'm not really sure why it doesn't like mix together, but it does produce this on a vertical surface. So this kind of showcases to me that's what's going to happen if I did put this on something more vertical. But I love this purple that comes out, and it really complements the brown really well. So this would be one that I would like to see on a vertical surface. So this is over Norris Blue. We have this over Tea Dust. Landslide over Wintergreen. I love how these produce such nice contrast with the finishes. It's one of my favorite parts about them. Landslide over Smoke. Smoke tends to develop these nice crystals anyway. I'd be curious to see what this would look like vertically. I would imagine a lot more of this darker blue would showcase itself. Landslide over Indigo Rain. I love how these crystals kind of come through and showcase themselves underneath the gloss. Landslide over Desert Dusk. So this would produce some really yummy results, I would say. So if we did this on something vertical, I like how dry these crystals develop, and then you get this nice glossy blue and purple color. And yep, that's the Norris Blue. Here we've got Landslide over Sandstone. Over Oyster. So Oyster likes to produce this nice lavender purple color along with the brown. I think these would complement each other really well. Definitely be curious to see what this looks like vertically. I would imagine a lot more of this brown would showcase and maybe some striations here, but you never know till you try. And then here we've got Cordovan with the Landslide over Cordovan, which I love this orange that develops. This is really, really cool. As well, you have this matte finish. So this I'd be curious to see as well. Really, I'd be curious to see all of these. It's like fascinating to me how these perform. So we have Landslide over Birch here. We've got some purple, some blue, some cream color. So this would be a really nice one. Got Landslide over Frost Blue. Landslide over Robin's Egg. Landslide over Weathered Blue. And Landslide over Moonscape. So hopefully that gives you a couple jumping off points for different combinations that maybe you want to try. Hopefully you guys get those sample kits, and some of these kind of overlap with glazes that you have or are inspired to use. So definitely do some testing and share your results. We love to see them. We have got our community Mako Mudroom Society on Facebook. That is a lovely resource where all of our customers like to share their work and talk about our products. There's a search feature on there, so if you're looking for results with a particular glaze or anything, you can pop the glaze name in the search feature and find it there. So that's a really nice resource to see, you know, how our customers are using the glazes, not just, you know, Mako's firing environment, my hand, Todd's hand. You know, it's like this showcases a pretty limited result as to the glazes, just because there's so many variables that contribute to the fired results. So that's why Mako Mudroom Society is an amazing resource, as well as our website. I know I've mentioned in the other videos, our searchable glaze combo gallery, as well as our searchable distributor page. Those are really nice. You can find exactly what you need without having to search manually through anything. And yeah, definitely check out our YouTube channel. I think that should cover it. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. We so appreciate you. Definitely drop any questions in the comments. We love to hear from you. And as always, make it Mako.